almost exactly 1 year ago to the day, I featured the 2019 BMW X4 M40i, and I made a joke at the beginning of that video saying that nobody really cared anymore about that car because BMW at the time had just announced the new X3M and X4M. Well, a year later, I've got it. Our spotlight is on this 2020 BMW X3 M Competition. Priced at $99,650 Canadian, it is pricey, but it is well loaded. But is this the M car that enthusiasts have been waiting for, or is it just a way for BMW to print money? We're going to be going over absolutely everything you need to know if you're in the market for the compact luxury crossover BMW M car. Now, before I dive into this, I want to give a big thanks to BMW Canada because they actually let me bring this to Toronto. I'm here in Mississauga where we filmed a lot of the most popular episodes of Test Drive that we've ever done for the Toronto International Auto Show. And they let me bring this $100,000 rocket ship, so I've had quite a bit of time spent behind the wheel of this, so I know quite a bit about it, and I gotta say there is a lot going on. Now, there are a number of packages that you can get on this. The only thing that's really missing is the carbon exterior trim. It would just add carbon fiber bits in the front grille area and the mirror caps. This car doesn't have it, and you also don't have the BMW driver package, which would remove the top speed limit on this to 285 kilometers an hour. I think at 250 kilometers an hour, it's still going to get you in a lot of trouble. Now, this does have the $3,300 premium package. You get side window sunshades, ventilated front seats, heated front and rear seats, park distance control, parking assistant plus with the surround view cameras, wireless charging, and Wi-Fi. This also has the $1,500 advanced driver assistance package, which adds driving assistant plus, steering and lane control, evasion assist, front cross traffic alert, active cruise control, and lane keep assist. BMW's also put the $850 carbon fiber trim for the interior on this, as well as the $500 ambient air package. Our test model here is finished in Donington Grey metallic, and the color should look familiar. It is the same Donington Grey that was used on the 2020 750 Li that we featured. Now, this also has the black and mid-rand beige two-tone leather seats with Alcantara inserts. They are M seats. The M logo does light up when you start the car. Looks really cool. They are firm seats, but they do work for what you're getting out of it. Now, the X3M Competition uses BMW's 3-liter S58B30 T0 twin-turbo straight-six M engine. Produces 503 horsepower, or 375 kilowatts, and 443 pound-feet of torque, or 600 newton meters. It's the same amount of power out of the Alfa Romeo Stelvio Quadrifoglio that we featured last year. Now, that uses a 2.9-liter V6 engine, whereas this is a straight six, and it's got a tenth of a liter more displacement, but power numbers are exactly the same. However, this, with the competition package, will do 0 to 100 kilometers in only 4.1 seconds, whereas the Alfa Romeo is supposed to do it in 3.8 seconds. And that's something that we actually talked about when we did the Alfa Romeo. We talked about all the other vehicles in this size category, and the Alfa Romeo is the fastest, but it's not always the best. You can get it configured about the same way for about the same price. The one that we had was quite a bit more because it had the Sparco racing seats and carbon ceramic brakes, but you can get it for about 100 grand. But the X3 is a little bit more livable on a daily basis, and we're going to be going over some of that on our road test to tell you about how it is really on the road. And I gotta say, it is firm, but you have a lot of control to be able to change how the engine, suspension, transmission, everything adapts to the way that you want it to be driven, much like the M4 Competition that we again featured late last year. Now, there's a couple things about this car that I wouldn't say disappointed with, but they are important to know. This is a new generation, right? The G01 is a new generation for the X3. This is technically an F97 because it's an M car, but they're not using the latest BMW technology. It doesn't use BMW's laser headlights, which honestly, that's fine, they suck. But the interior is just a little different from what you'd normally get with some of the newest BMWs, like the 7 Series or the 5 Series or the X6 that we featured. It uses a BMW Live Cockpit, but not the same Live Cockpit Professional that BMW is currently using. It's last year's stuff. Also, iDrive. It's just iDrive 6, not iDrive 7. And then some of the other interior controls are kind of carried over from the previous generation. Now, I suspect that those things will be changed for the LCI. Probably 2022, 2023, we'll see those changeovers. But for now, this is what you get. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. The technology on this still works fantastically well, but you have to remember that the X3 is still more or less an entry-level vehicle, even though this is an M car. When you look back at something like the 2006 M3 competition that we did, it's pretty lightly equipped compared to a 7 Series from the same era. So let's go into the car now. We're going to take it on a road test, talk about how this vehicle handles, performs, and drives, and everything else about it. We're not going to be doing that here in Mississauga or Toronto. We'll be continuing this back in Quebec, but this is an absolute beast on the highway. So let's jump into it now, and we'll go over everything else you want to know about the X3M Competition. Let's get to the fun stuff right away. Everything's in Sport Plus mode, manual shift on the 3rd intensity. We're also in MDM mode for the traction control. This is my M2 profile. It is pretty much full on race mode. Holy crap. 100, just like that. It had to have been so damn close to that 4.1 second mark for this. Really quick on this car. It really shouldn't be this fast. It's an X3 after all. Yet it is. Now, one of the major things about this transmission is, unlike some other vehicles that we've tested, especially recently, where it'll automatically shift you up if you've hit the red line, this will not. BMW says they will not shift unless you do it yourself in manual mode, which is perfect because there have been some vehicles that we drove where we tried to do a launch like that, and for some reason, like, I lost traction off the line and it would shift up to second way too early. So this thing not only is fast as hell, but it also performs the way that you want it to, pretty much in full race mode if you want it. But you don't have to have it in full race mode all the time. I mean, I just took this to Toronto and back, so I have a pretty good idea of how it is to live with as a daily basis. I mean, I've put over 2,400 kilometers on this car. So again, big thank you to BMW Canada for letting me do that. But when I'm driving around normally, I'm in my M1 profile. That's Sport Plus for the engine, so it sounds still fantastic with the exhaust on. I'm in sport mode for the suspension and steering, and then level 2 for the shift mode, actually in full automatic mode as I'm driving around. So this is my normal daily driving mode, and then actually when I'm turning it on, starts up everything in comfort and efficiency mode. That's the way that I actually drove to and from Toronto, because I wanted to get the most out of the engine's fuel economy, so I wasn't spending $400 or $500 in premium fuel all week. But we're in Sport Plus mode. It sounds great. It pulls if you need it. Everything is what you would expect from an M car, and that's the number one thing I was asked all week while driving this car. How's the suspension? And it's like everybody forgot what an M car is supposed to be. It's not meant to be comfortable. It's not meant to go over the bumps like you're on a cloud. It's a race car. This is a firm suspension. The seats are super firm. You go over the bumps, you feel everything because it's an M car, okay? And that's the one thing that, I don't know, it's like everybody kind of forgot. Just because it's an X3, it's no longer an M, and it's an M competition. So this is the best of the best when it comes to full-on race car performance. So you're not gonna have a cushy experience. If you want a great daily driver and still have a lot of the performance, personally, I would recommend getting the X3 M40i. We drove the X4 last year. We had a couple small issues with it, but overall, that car is great. And I actually flexed on somebody pretty hard at the Dundas Timmy's back in Mississauga a few days ago as we're filming this. There was an X3 M40i parked in the parking lot, so of course, I'm gonna park right next to him in my X3 competition. But that's the other thing too. I mean, if you want a really good daily driver, get the M40i. But if you want the best of the best, or you really do want that M car experience, the regular X3M just doesn't make sense anymore. It's kind of the problem that BMW has created in and of itself by offering these competition vehicles, because now it makes the regular M car, which is still supposed to be amazing, kind of feel like nothing special at all. So you really should go for this if you want the M car. Get the M40i. if you want something that's a little bit more comfortable on a daily basis. Now, we've talked about all the other things about this last year when we did the X4. It would have been nice if we had iDrive 7 on this. The gauge cluster is really cool. It's completely different. It's the first time I've seen a fully digital BMW M car gauge cluster. We haven't seen that because the M4 was still using last year's tech, and technically so is this. The M2 doesn't have that either, but the next generation of BMW M cars like the X3M, they have the updated BMW Live Cockpit Professional, whereas this one's a little bit older, but you know, you do kind of feel like there's some tech that you're kind of missing on this. It still sort of feels like the previous generation a little bit. If you're spending $100,000, you do want it to be special, and it is. I mean, it is a special car, but you're still getting last year's tech with it, which is okay. Again, if you want to keep this, if you're buying it and you want to have the best of the best, then maybe give it a couple of years. Wait for the LCI, because if they don't put iDrive 7 in the new professional cluster and all the other sort of fun tech bits that this car doesn't have yet, I'll be genuinely surprised. That we should be seeing it in a few years. If you want to buy it to hold on to it and you want the best, then maybe hold on. But I mean, I've been driving this for a week now, and I have to say that there's really nothing to complain about. Yes, the suspension is firm. That's how it's meant to be. Yes, it guzzles gas. That's how it's supposed to be. This is one of the few M cars you can daily drive. Somebody actually here in our town has an M4 Cabriolet, and I was able to see it a couple times during my week with this. They daily drive that 365 days out of the year, and it's because of the tires. You get good tires on it, like these Pirelli Scorpion tires, you can handle pretty much anything. And this is one of the few cars that I've driven that I have felt total confidence, not just excellent confidence, total. When I was driving home from Toronto, the stuff that you saw earlier at the beginning, that was actually filmed the day before I left Toronto. We had not a heavy snowstorm, but a snowstorm nonetheless. The roads were pretty bad, especially through Quebec. And one of the things I find with a lot of cars is if you're changing lanes, there's a nice snow mound in between the two lanes. You do kind of, not fishtail a whole lot, but you do lose some traction going through there. This thing just powered through it like nobody's business. It handles so damn well. Mixed with the Pirelli Scorpion tires, it's almost unbeatable. So if you want an M car that you can daily drive 365 days of the year with total confidence, this is the way to go. The only thing I've noticed is it kind of blends in, and that's a bit of a bummer. With an M car, you want it to stand out, and you notice an M2 and M4 right away. But with this, I find that it just kind of blends in a little too much. Yeah, it's subtly different. The back end's wider. You've got the black badging. The side vents have the X3M badge on it. Plus, you've got the little badge in the kidney grille. So to the seasoned enthusiast, you would know right away that this is the M car. But just to everybody else, it's an X3. That's a little disappointing. Now, one thing that some people complained about when the new M5 came out was used xDrive, so it just doesn't feel the same way. You've got four-wheel drive, it's harder to drift. But with this, if you put this into either MDM or completely take off DSC, you can send pretty much all the power to the rear wheels. So you still have access to xDrive if you need it, but you can have a lot more fun with it. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This is a lot better than that M550i. Look at it go. That's what we call a power slide. Oh boy, is that good. Oh, it's like the perfect temperature. Got just a little bit of ice. There you go. You're worried that you're going to buy an X3M, you're not going to have as much fun in the snow. You can have tons of fun.
I know fuel economy isn't the priority for M car buyers, but the numbers that we achieved might surprise you. On our voyage to Toronto, we averaged 10.8 liters per 100 kilometers or 21.8 US miles per gallon in efficient mode without ripping it too much. The rest of our 2,400 kilometer week was spent mostly in Sport Plus mode, but we still managed 12 liters per 100 kilometers or 19.6 mpg. A significant portion of our time was spent on the highway, but as far as road trips go, the X3M Competition did pretty well. But let's talk about likes and dislikes and how it compares to the direct competitor that we've driven, the Alfa Romeo Stelvio Quadrifoglio. As far as I'm concerned, the G01 X3 is the best looking X3 BMW has developed, both inside and out. It sticks true to BMW's core design language while beefing up the outgoing generation. The performance out of BMW's twin-turbo straight six is enough to get your blood pumping and provide the thrill that you expect from an M car, even if it's in an SUV format. The winter handling and control afforded by the M X-Drive and Pirelli Scorpion winter tires was also unmatched, giving me total confidence on the road during inclement weather, but also performing exactly the way I wanted it to and pushing it hard. The available options on the X3M fit the segment and BMW's portfolio well. While we'll bring this up during our dislike segments in terms of the tech itself, the X3M ultimately had everything we'd want feature-wise out of a top-trim compact luxury SUV. Finally, the exhaust sound was to die for, as you heard at the start of the video. But when you push this car, it just sounds incredible. Not quite the same level from the Stelvio, but as far as BMW M cars go, this is right up there. We touched on some of our dislikes during our walk around and driving segments. For $100,000 Canadian, the G01 X3M comes with some older BMW tech, like iDrive 6 and the older digital gauge cluster. Buyers might be disappointed when they get into their top-level X3 and find it isn't running the latest software, but we do expect those changes for the LCI down the road. We also experienced some iDrive issues during our week, with laggy Bluetooth audio streaming that would start to cut out after a while, and screen input issues that would affect Apple CarPlay. When comparing directly to the Stelvio though, the BMW addresses a lot of the concerns that we had with that Italian supercar SUV. BMW offers an excellent color HUD, class-leading infotainment even with iDrive 6, and a build quality that does feel like it's worth that $100,000 price tag. Unfortunately, like the Stelvio, BMW doesn't offer the same enhanced performance data that we've tested on Mercedes-AMG vehicles, so work can still be done there. Some might find the ride too stiff on a car like this, especially as a daily commuter. The X3M 40i provides a lot of enjoyment for about $21,000 less and still offers most of the performance that you can use on a day-to-day basis. However, if you are looking for a year-round compact luxury performance SUV and don't mind blending in a little over the Alfa Romeo, the BMW X3M Competition is the way to go. We wouldn't recommend going with the regular X3M given the added power and prestige that comes with the competition. To do this car test drive style, we'd opt for the Toronto red metallic paint, Adelaide grey extended merino leather interior, wood trim over the carbon fiber, and the $10,000 M Ultimate package, which adds the M carbon exterior and M drivers package, bringing our build total to $104,895 Canadian. Well worth the price of entry to M-Town.